The main reason, Bruce was really ahead of his time, called Return of the Dragon. He said, would you come over and do the fight scene with me? The guys you fight don't even have a chance. I mean, they don't even touch you. And he said, no, we'll make this a seesaw battle. And so we made it fight back and forth. And
undoubtedly, Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris are the kings of martial arts. These men were fundamental in shaping the game into what we know as today. Among other things, many fans know Bruce Lee as the icon of Enter the Dragon, the 1973 movie. But here is what many people don't know. Chuck Norris was supposed to be featured in the movie. In fact, they recorded a fight that was never aired. That fight changes everything we knew about these two men. Who won in this secret fight? Join us as we reveal the details. Would have showcased Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris that became martial arts legend. The set of Enter the Dragon was unlike any other martial arts production of its time. It wasn't filled with ordinary actors. It was packed with real fighters. There was Jim Kelly with his lightning-fast kicks, Bob Wall with his fearsome presence, Sammo Hung choreographing early sequences, and even a young Jackie Chan performing stunts long before he became a global icon. Everywhere you turned, there was someone who could break bricks, snap boards, or demonstrate a technique they had spent years perfecting. In such an environment, competitiveness wasn't just expected, it was inevitable. These legendary collections spent every warm-up session as an opportunity to display their skills. It was as though they were trying to say, "I am here too," with every stretch, stance, and light spar. But things were different whenever Bruce Lee stepped on set. There would be this change in the energy shifted instantly. He was the star, the visionary, the man redefining martial arts cinema. But now, with Chuck Norris present, a world karate champion, and one of Bruce's few true peers, the air grew noticeably thicker. Though people didn't say it out loud, but everyone felt it. This wasn't just a set, it was a gathering of masters, and masters always measure each other. Jim Kelly later hinted that he saw everything long before others noticed. He said he noticed Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris addressed each other with this mutual respect. But it was as though there was something more going on, like there was a kind of rivalry between them. To Jim Kelly, this tension held great interest. These are two elite martial artists with two different philosophies, two men used to being the best in every room. Another person that also picked up on the tension going on was Bob Wall. Bob had trained with both, so he was very familiar with their different mannerisms. He described Bruce Lee as being surgical in nature. He would obsess over angles, timing, biomechanics, and things like that. Chuck Norris, on the other hand, embodied raw, disciplined karate power. His movements were grounded, structured, and backed by years of tournament victories. Stuntmen on the set noticed it too. The two men didn't really argue or disagree much. It was only in their demonstrations that you could discern what was happening. It was almost unbelievable. Whenever Bruce Lee showed a technique, Chuck Norris followed with his own variation. Like when Chuck Norris displayed a powerful karate combination, Bruce Lee countered with fluid, Jeet Kune Do restructuring. He didn't have to say anything or even do anything aggressive, yet everyone watching could tell that this wasn't mere instruction. It was a duel in philosophy of how martial arts should be. Jackie Chan was also one of the observers. Though this was early on in his career, this were his role models. He later joked that watching them felt like watching two different worlds trying to prove themselves without saying a word. No one knew where this energy was heading. They only knew that the air kept tightening, as if the set itself was waiting. As if this was not bad enough, then Warner Brothers made the final decision to cut Chuck Norris's originally planned on-screen showdown with Bruce Lee. What should have been one of the film's most iconic fights was erased before it was ever filmed. The real conflict. When the planned on-screen fight between Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris was quietly removed from the script, something shifted between the two men. Chuck Norris had come to the film ready to display karate on a global stage. Bruce Lee had prepared choreography designed to blend speed, fluidity, and adaptability. With the scene gone, both men felt the same thing, that their styles had never truly met. So one afternoon, away from the cameras, Chuck Norris approached Bruce Lee directly. Truth is, he didn't challenge him out of pride. Anyone who knew Chuck knew he wasn't reckless. But as a world champion who had dominated international tournaments, he wanted to genuinely understand how Bruce Lee's fluid Jeet Kune Do compared to the structured, disciplined power of American karate. Bruce Lee didn't hesitate. He respected Chuck Norris more than most people ever knew. And Bruce Lee loved testing ideas through action. To him, a sparring match wasn't a fight. It was more like a laboratory for running experiments. And so, the two men agreed. What happened next was something no one saw coming. Everyone nearby sensed instantly that something extraordinary was about to happen. They cleared a space on the training floor. There wasn't much of an audience, only a few trusted stuntmen watching from a distance. The atmosphere was nothing like a Hollywood fight scene. There were no staged movements or dramatic pauses, just silence and two masters preparing to test years of discipline. Bruce Lee moved, more like he launched forward with blistering speed, the kind that even trained fighters struggle to track. His footwork was light and unpredictable, weaving in and out of Chuck Norris's reach with surgical precision. He struck quickly, rapid lead-hand jabs, finger jabs to the air near Chuck Norris's eyes, and intercepting kicks that tapped Chuck Norris's torso. He was a pro, and it was mind-blowing to watch. He attacked at quick angles that reset distance before Chuck Norris could counter. Despite his expertise, Chuck Norris later described it as trying to fight the wind.
He said, and I want you to be my opponent.
Wow.
And I said, so kiddingly, I said, well, Bruce, who wins this fight?
The thing was, Bruce Lee wasn't even attacking to dominate. He was attacking to gather data. He was reading Chuck Norris's timing, trying to understand his rhythm, probing for openings. But the speed was real. The intent was real. And it didn't take long for Chuck Norris to realize that this was going to be a test of endurance, timing, and adaptability. But Chuck Norris didn't come to play either. And his moves, let's just say they would stun you to silence. Chuck Norris didn't earn his titles by backing down from speed. His strategy was to close the distance, limit Bruce Lee's mobility, and land powerful shots when Bruce Lee stepped in. And he delivered. He tightened his stance and began pressuring forward, cutting angles to force Bruce Lee into corners of the room. When Bruce Lee darted in with a fast strike, Chuck Norris countered with heavy reverse punches or low kicks aimed at halting Bruce Lee's movement. His style was built on precision and raw power, and when his shots connected with the air near Bruce, the sound was explosive. If even one of those punches had landed cleanly, it could have changed the entire fight. At several moments, Chuck Norris managed to narrow the gap, using his size advantage to force Bruce Lee to retreat. For a brief stretch, it looked like the tide might turn. Bruce Lee was evading, but Chuck Norris was closing in, step by step. By this time, their small audience could see each man was just holding on as a test of will. It was no longer about teaching each other their unique styles of fighting. But then came the moment that changed everything. Around the 10-minute mark, Chuck Norris began to feel it, the slow pull of muscle fatigue. His punches were still powerful, but they took more effort. His footwork remained sharp, but his recovery time grew a fraction longer. Bruce Lee, on the other hand, seemed almost untouched by the passing time. His breathing was steady, and his movement still remained explosive. Even his speed didn't drop. Instead, it increased, and that made all the difference. The thing is, Bruce Lee had conditioned himself for endurance-based combat. in the form of Wing Chun Master Ip Man. Under Ip Man, Bruce learned structure, timing, and the essence of close-range combat. But the Hong Kong streets taught him a different kind of lesson. Bruce Lee got into fights, real fights, situations that forced him to question the practicality of what he was learning. This became the foundation of his lifelong rebellion against rigid tradition. Bruce immersed himself not only in martial arts, but in philosophy, Western boxing, fencing, and performance science. He devoured books, questioned rules, and broke barriers wherever he found them. When he moved to America as a young man, he didn't just start teaching, he started challenging the very definition of martial arts. And as he faced racism, skepticism, and rejection in Hollywood, Bruce Lee channeled every obstacle into innovation. His frustrations became fuel, his doubts became breakthroughs. Out of that fire, he created Jeet Kune Do, a system defined by the radical idea that use what works and discard what doesn't. That's not all. Chuck Norris was also a champion in his own rights. Unlike Bruce Lee's world of cinema and street fights, Chuck Norris came from a very different path. Born in Ryan, Oklahoma, and raised in a modest household, Chuck Norris never imagined he would one day become one of the most respected martial artists of his era. As a teenager, he lacked confidence, athletic skill, even physical coordination. But everything changed when he joined the U.S. Air Force and was stationed in South Korea. There he discovered Tang Soo Do, a Korean martial art that ignited something deep inside him. At first, it was just curiosity, but it soon turned into obsession. Chuck Norris trained relentlessly, rising through the ranks with a seriousness that set him apart from other servicemen. When he returned to the United States, he continued training, eventually developing a fusion of Tang Soo Do, karate, and his own competition-tested refinements. In the 1960s and 70s, he became one of America's most dominant tournament fighters, winning multiple championships and establishing himself as a force in the martial arts world. Chuck Norris didn't have Bruce Lee's speed or philosophical flair. He had something else. He had consistency, precision, and discipline. Also, he could throw a punch that could stop a man where he stood. His reputation for being calm, controlled, and devastatingly efficient turned him into one of the most formidable karate champions of his time. When their paths finally crossed during the era of Enter the Dragon, it wasn't just two fighters meeting. It was two worlds colliding. Hollywood saw them as collaborators. Martial artists saw them as legends. But the people on set knew they were two philosophies destined to collide on camera and off. The match never appeared on film. There were no cameras, no dramatic music, no Hollywood-style framing. Yet among the small circle who saw it, the event became an unspoken legend because it showed two philosophies clashing in real time. Chuck Norris's structured karate and Bruce Lee's fluid Jeet Kune Do. It showed why Bruce's teachings still influence modern combat sports, mixed martial arts, and performance training. It showed why fighters today still study his footwork, timing, and conditioning drills. And most of all, it showed that Bruce Lee's legacy wasn't built on mythology, but on real, functional mastery. What do you think of Chuck Norris's and Bruce Lee's off-record clash at the scene of Enter the Dragon? Which of them do you think is a better fighter? We would love you to share your opinion in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Also, click the next video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.